Unfortunate football game on Saturday for the Duke Blue Devils. Darian Mensah returns to Tulane to take on his former team, and Duke ends up on the losing end of the game. The Blue Devils now with a 1-2 record. Where do they go from here?
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man. The Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is J.J. Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us today on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. We've got some football and basketball thoughts for you today with our good friend Kevin Connelly from Ball Durham as he joins us on today's show. Duke football falling to Tulane, and the basketball squad less than a week away from opening up their official practice. We'll dive into all of that throughout the course of our program. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Also, make sure that you watch Locked On Blue Devils each and every day over on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know in the comments if you're an everydayer. Share these videos with your friends, and you can follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. So without further ado, here he is, Kevin Connelly, joining us on the program. And unfortunately, Kevin, we got to talk about yet another Duke football loss to open up the year. I hope you're doing well today.
I'm doing good, JJ. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get into it. 34-27, the final score for Duke as they fall on the road against Darian Mensah's former squad in Tulane. Offensively, Duke ends the football game with more yards than Tulane was able to have. But in a battle of quarterbacks, it's Jake Retzlaff, the transfer quarterback for Tulane, that finishes the day with over 200 yards passing, over 100 yards rushing, 4 rushing touchdowns himself. And when you look at this game in particular, the Duke defense, I think, was one of the biggest letdowns for so many evaluating this one.
Yeah, JJ, I think in a sense the defense was a disappointment against Illinois as well, but you kind of chalked it up to all the offensive miscues and turnovers and special teams mistakes. And you kind of gave them a little bit of a pass, saying that they were put in really tough positions and eventually it was just too much to hold up on, and the dam broke, and Illinois was able to run away with this one. But when you really go back and watch the film, it was still a lot of the same issues that you saw against Tulane. Team can't get off the field on third down. You have costly penalties. You have blown coverages. You have mistakes. And that's just on the defensive side of the ball. There's a ton of stuff to really go into on the offensive side of the ball. It doesn't look that good either. But going into this game, we said Jake Retzlaff is the key. He can throw the ball when he wants to and when he needs to, but he loves to run the football. When he runs the football, his team usually has success. And that was the case here in this one. Duke almost looked unprepared at times for the quarterback run, especially when they got inside the red zone and even inside the 30, 25-yard line. He runs for 4 touchdowns. You mentioned the yardage. He has a great day throwing the ball as well. And I think the most surprising thing is, and I said it on the Believe in Duke Football podcast right after the game, I recorded and got it out there on Sunday morning. You didn't see these mistakes from Duke last year in the first year, Manny Diaz, when it would be more understandable to see some of these mistakes and blown coverages and miscues, not in the second year. And now I get it that, in college football, you have new rosters and a new defense and a new offense just about every year with the transfer portal and people coming and going. But Duke really only had 2 terrible defensive games last year, and they were understandable because they were playing elite offenses at Miami and in the bowl game against Ole Miss. And I think really in the bowl game against Ole Miss, when guys don't play with the portal and sitting out and whatever, that's almost like you completely chalk it up. So like you're really only looking about one game against Miami where the defense just didn't show up, giving up 53 in that one and then 52 against Ole Miss. Other than those 2 games, the most points that Duke gave up in a single game was 28. and they did it twice in a 28-27 overtime loss against SMU, and they did it in a 31-28 win over Virginia Tech. JJ, they've given that up already twice against the two legitimate teams they played this season, giving up 45 against Illinois and 34 against Tulane. Yes, there's issues with the special teams and the offense and the play calling and all that, but this team's not going anywhere or going to do anything substantial this year if they don't figure out how to get some stops on defense.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, you think about what they were able to do last season in those games. The point total is something you want to look at. You score more points, you win the games. Duke was great sacking the quarterback a year ago. Duke was great getting tackles for loss. Duke did a much better job getting turnovers, Kevin, and that's what's so disappointing. First two games of the season, as we talked last week, Duke was not able to come away with any turnovers. They finally did that on Saturday against Tulane. There was a fumble that they were able to recover. So Duke walks away with their first turnover. However, Mensah threw one interception, so you're not really winning that turnover battle. They didn't lose it as poorly as they did the week prior when it was 5-0 in that department. But that's been the other eye-opening thing for me, man, is even in the secondary, they're not coming away with interceptions, and kind of the linebackers, DNs, and guys on the interior aren't coming away with as many fumbles as they were able to force a year ago.
Well, JJ, it's funny. There's a saying in football that's turnovers come in bunches, right? And when you don't get them for a certain part, and then all of a sudden you're just forcing and creating turnovers. And when Duke generated that fumble from Retzlaff on, let's be honest, it was a 3rd down and 9 run. Again, if Retzlaff is able to hold on to the football there, it's another 3rd down that the Duke defense can't get off the field. But great play from behind, able to strip it from him. They go down, they score a touchdown, and it's a one-possession game. And then if you remember that ensuing possession for Tulane, I can't remember if it was 1st or 2nd down, that there was a screen pass. And the defensive end, and forgive me, I'm drawing a blank on who it was, the ball was thrown right to him. And he tipped it. And it's a difficult play for a defensive lineman to make, JJ. Don't get me wrong about that. And you don't expect defensive linemen necessarily to have interceptions like that. But when things aren't going well for you in a game in the early part of a season, someone has to make a play.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a defensive lineman, a linebacker, a cornerback, a safety, somebody in the secondary, somebody has to make a play. And that was a major turning point, man, in my opinion, of this game. Because if that ball gets intercepted off that screen pass, number one, it could have been a pick six. And then Duke is sending the offense out there to go for 2 to try to tie the game. If it's not a pick six, your offense is going out there 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Now, granted, they've had issues all season trying to score in the red zone, score touchdowns in the red zone. But that was just a key play that the defense did not make that they could have made to completely change the game, because that interception doesn't happen. Tulane goes down. They score a touchdown. They make it 31-16. It's back to a 2-score game, and Duke's continuing to fight an uphill battle. So, I mean, that I think was the turning point of that game, that interception that wasn't made. And then in that drive, again, that screen pass, it was 1st or 2nd down, and then it's a 3rd and 10, and it's a 12-yard pass. And it's continually not able to get off the field on 3rd down. And then when they get a stop on 3rd down later in that drive, they allow Retzlaff to scramble for 8 yards. It's 4th and a yard and a half from just about midfield. You go for it on 4th down. Retzlaff looked like he was going to be initially stopped, but his second effort gives him the yardage he needs. And like I said, Tulane goes down and scores a touchdown. So, I think there's a lot of issues with this team right now. I mean, if you're being honest, and they're not really a good team. They're not good. I don't know. At this point in the season, I don't know how you can say they are good or they could be good. It's because we have a 3-game sample size, and they have not been good in any of those 3 games. They have not looked prepared to play in any of those 3 games. So I don't know how you can say something otherwise right now. Can it change? Sure. But right now, this is not a good football team.
And it gets real on Saturday when Duke opens up ACC play. I mean, if we're talking a week from now, Kevin, and it's a 1-3 football team for Duke, 0-1 in conference play, all the questions that would be asked about this Duke team. I hope it doesn't get to that. Hopefully we're set up for a win this upcoming weekend. Let's talk a little bit more about Darian Mensah and these ACC games that Duke's got to get ready for. And we'll do that here in just a moment when Locked On Blue Devils continues. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. That's right, Prize Picks is the absolute best when you're looking for daily fantasy apps. It's where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. The best part, even if your pick misses, Prize Picks invents the flex play so you could still double your money. Take a look at more than or less than for passing yards, rushing touchdowns, so much more, all available over at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Prize Picks is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, we move forward here on the show. Kevin Connelly from Ball Durham hanging out with me today, talking about Duke football. 1-2 on the year. They just fell to Tulane by a final score of 34-27. Duke now gets ready for ACC play. NC State at Syracuse at Cal. The next 3 games on the schedule for the Blue Devils. Let's talk about Darian Mensah, though, Kevin. We got to see 4 more quarters worth of football from the Duke gunslinger, and he certainly was slinging it on Saturday. 30 of 51 pass attempts for Mensah, 313 passing yards for the Duke quarterback, along with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. What do you make of his performance? And just, again, the fact that now we've seen him for 3 games as the Duke quarterback.
My opinion hasn't changed. I think a lot of the stats we are seeing are still empty stats. I mean, here, 2 drives late in the fourth quarter when the game's already decided. This 34-27 final score was not indicative of how much of a blowout this game was. Tulane controlled this game out of the 60 minutes, probably for 50 to 55 of them. This game was, I think it goes as a 1-score game in the final score sheet, but this was a 2-3 score game before Duke was able to put 10 meaningless points up on the board late in the game, and then didn't get an onside kick with a couple of, I think, about 45 seconds left, which would have given them a chance to potentially tie. But, I mean, he throws the ball 51 times because when you dig yourself a 3-score hole, you're not going to get it back running the football. You got to do it throwing the football. But again, it's a team that struggles to move the ball efficiently inside the red zone and finish drives off with touchdowns. You have a couple of mistakes in a game that are crippling. Now, the interception in this game, was it crippling? I mean, to an extent. I mean, it came midway through the second quarter and eventually led to 3 points for Tulane, which made it 24-3 at the time. And I get you come down and score a touchdown, which, again, I still don't understand going for 2 at that point, but that's besides the point because it really didn't play a factor in the end. And then I don't want to say he's not being put in a position to succeed, but the play calling is very, very questionable. And specifically in the second half, I think it was the first drive of the fourth quarter. I'm pretty sure it was after Tulane had kicked the field goal. And it's a 3rd and 2, I think from deep in Duke territory, probably around the 30-yard line. And on 3rd down, they throw it deep. Okay, I get it. You're down at that point. Let me just look this up so I'm correct. 34-16, beginning of the fourth quarter. And you have to go for it, right? If you want any chance of coming back to win this game, you have to go for it. So I don't very much hate throwing it deep on 3rd down. But then on 4th down, they throw it again 35, 40 yards down the field.
Right.
And they got bailed out on a defensive pass interference, which gave them 15 yards to move the chains. But it's like, you need 2 yards. At that point, you don't need the home run. Just got to get a first down to extend the drive.
The sticks. Yeah.
And then later in the drive, it's the same thing. On 3rd and 9, you get 7, and it's a 4th and 2 from about midfield. And again, they take a shot deep downfield. And it's like, fellas, You need to move the chains. Do you need a touchdown on this drive? Yes. But you don't need a 45-yard touchdown pass on 4th and 2. You need 2 yards.
Yeah.
Get a first down, then take your shot. So, like, go and that happened 3 times on the same drive. Not one of the passes was complete. And the only reason it was 3 plays was because of a defensive pass interference that bailed them out. So I think for Mensah, and again, this kid has a ton of arm talent. This kid could have a really big future. He is only a sophomore.
I love watching him play, man. He's fun.
He's got a big arm. He has to learn the game more. He has to be better in situational football. He has to be better finishing off drives. But in terms of just the overall volume of stats, and I've said this on your program as well, JJ, people are going to look back at this season and see his stats and be like, wow, he had a really good year. But when you watch him, is he really having good games? No, I think he's putting up good stats. I think they're shallow stats because when you look up at the scoreboard, his team's not in it at the end.
Well, we're 25% through the season now with 3 games done, 9 to go. And we'll see if Duke can start to turn this around. Again, on Saturday against Tulane, Mensah, against his old squad, had 30 completions to 10 different pass catchers. It was Samir Hagans, Nate Shepard, and Landon King that caught touchdown passes that found the end zone for the Duke football squad. Now ACC play comes around for Duke, and it's a home game against NC State where Duke is actually favored. It is the second ACC game for NC State. They beat Wake Forest their last time out on Thursday. NC State played Virginia, but that was a non-conference scheduled meeting between the teams, kind of an oddity there in their schedule. Last season, we saw Wake Forest and UNC play a non-conference matchup against one another. And then NC State opened up the season with a 24-17 win over East Carolina. So Duke's had the number against NC State over the last several seasons. And now here's an opportunity to see if you could do it again at home on your home field, a 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff for Duke against the Wolfpack. How do you see this one going?
You said Duke is a favorite. I see that as well. The people in the desert obviously know a lot more about this stuff than me. I don't know how they could be a favorite. I get Duke's at home. I don't get if you put on the tape and you watch these two teams, I don't get how you make Duke a field goal favorite in this game, because what I haven't seen from Duke in terms of guts, in terms of responding to adversity, I have seen from NC State. I've seen it against East Carolina, where it's week 0 and you obviously don't have your best, and you're able to get a defensive stand late in the game to win it and prevent East Carolina from tying or taking the lead inside the final minute of that one. I've seen guts from them at home against Virginia when they were down 24-14 at halftime, and when they were down 31-28 late in the fourth quarter, and you get a touchdown with under a minute to go to win the game. I've seen guts from them, although Wake Forest isn't a great team. I've seen guts coming back from on the road trailing 14-0. I've seen guts coming back from trailing on the road 24-14 to shut out a team in the second half and win a football game by 10. I haven't seen guts from Duke once this year. I don't count Elon. Didn't see it at all against Illinois. Never saw it against Tulane. So, you're looking at a team through 3 games that's very battle-tested in NC State and has won those battles, and you're looking at a team against Duke who has been in those battles and has wilted and faltered and lost. So, right now, from what I'm seeing, I don't know how you can predict and expect Duke to win this football game. Again, people in the desert kind of know more about the outcomes of this game than I do. And if Duke wins by 2 scores, I'll be like, well, somebody knew something about this game. But right now, if you're asking me to predict a winner, I'll take NC State.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see this one play out, to see Duke play against their in-state rivals. Duke won against NC State, Wake Forest, and North Carolina last season. So they were the best ACC team in the state of North Carolina. And here's their chance to start to repeat that again this upcoming weekend when they take on the Wolfpack a little bit later in the week. As it stands, like we've done over the last couple of years, scheduled to have a Locked On crossover. Well, I will join the guys from Locked On Wolfpack, and we'll have more details about this game coming up. But first, we've got to make sure we get you ready for the basketball season, as we are less than a week away now from the Duke Blue Devils opening up practice. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to go when you're looking for tickets. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. Tailgates, rivalries, energies in the stand. There is nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless waiting queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. All of that stinks. That's why I use Game Time, because you don't have to worry about any of it. The app that gives the advantage back to the fans. The easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. So go ahead and take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, final segment today of the program. Kevin Connelly from Ball Durham is here with me. And Kev, it's getting real. This early morning on this Tuesday, September 16th, we saw Duke basketball put out some 6 a.m. workout footage with strength and conditioning coach Preston Green, reminding folks we're less than a week away from practice opening up in the college basketball world. The season is almost here. So workouts currently taking place for this team to get the conditioning up and ready to go. But now we're less than a week away from getting a basketball involved once again and seeing this team get after it, man.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you see videos and coverage and content from every basketball team across the country, and you see videos of guys working out and getting shots up or whatever, but like it can't be called, everyone refers to it as practice, but like under the official terms and jurisdiction, it's not practice.
Yeah.
But like, what is it? Like coaches, it's besides the point.
Silly,
like, yeah. Monday afternoon, practice starts for real. The official start of practice. So it's awesome. It's finally here. And JJ, kind of what I said throughout this week a couple times, this football season keeps going the way it's trending. It's like, man, make sure Cameron Boozer's healthy and ready to go, because people are going to be clamoring for him a little bit faster than they originally would have been anticipating to, with Duke football season kind of spiraling downwards right now.
Yeah, I mean, and people obviously love Duke basketball. You and I love talking about it, and I'm excited to kind of see this team get into action, to begin to have more thoughts on what this rotation might look like, lock in who these starters are going to be, and it's just such a loaded schedule for Duke, like we've talked about on the basketball side of things, that you're going to get tested early. I mean, here comes practice. 1st of October, we'll see countdown to craziness. Then you've got the exhibition games, and then Duke opening up the season against a power conference opponent in Texas. Like right out of the gates, this Duke team's got to be ready to go.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch. We've talked about the schedule ad nauseum. It feels like that's the one thing that we just keep going back to, because what more can you say? You have something new to talk about of a different game every single time. In fact, earlier today, I was doing a little bit more research in detail on the Michigan game in Washington, D.C., which, funny enough, is the last non-conference game before the postseason in late February. So, yeah, it's exciting. There's a ton of really big games. It's a gauntlet of a schedule. We'll see if it backfires, or we'll see if it actually sets them up for success and perhaps a number one seed. I think it's certainly interesting. I think this team has a lot of potential, but I think a lot of us still have a lot of questions about this team, and it's going to be fun to really see them get out on the floor here in the next month or so and see what they're made of.
Feels like the obvious answer, but when you get set to open up practice and kind of what to expect, you look at your returning players, and I think two guys in particular jump out as the leaders for Duke right now today going into the season. I think Duke's going to look a whole lot at Caleb Foster, third year in the program, as one of your lead guards. You know what to expect. Bring these freshmen along and some of your teammates as well. And then you invested in Isaiah Evans this offseason to make sure he didn't go anywhere, to make sure he came back. Now the sky's the limit for him. And you have the talented freshmen and Cameron Boozer and the rest of the class around them. But truly your leaders coming into the season, the guys that have been there before, I think the conversation starts right there at the top with Foster and Evans.
Oh, 100%. I think being a leader is the expectation for Caleb Foster. I mean, he's been through a lot. He's been through injury. He's been through playing struggles. He's been through a rise. He's been through all that. So I think the expectation is like he has to be a vocal leader. And I think you hit the nail on the head with Isaiah Evans. I think the talent he has, where he has to excel and take leaps at in his game. But I also think you need to see him being a leader because he is the spark plug. When he's playing well, you see the confidence ooze out of him. I think you need to see that confidence and that leadership ooze out of him when he goes 1 for 6 from 3 in a game, when he's not scoring 15 to 17 points. I think you still need to see that leadership out of him, and I think that's the next step in his development. And I think you hit the nail right on the head with him and how he has to emerge as that other real leader next to Caleb Foster this season.
Then for these freshmen, when they get set to open up practice on Monday, it's like, all right, here it is. You've had the summer workouts and practices that you were able to go through that portion. You've been around for the strength and conditioning program. There have been so many runs. We talked about Pro Devil Weekend from a recruiting element, but for the current guys on the team, able to get in and play some pickup against the Duke and the NBA guys as it stands right now. And I feel like that's going to be a surreal moment that we talk about each and every year, Kevin, is so many of them dream of one day getting to play basketball in college. Oftentimes, the dreams are even more detailed that they want to play college basketball for Duke. And for 5 freshmen come Monday, it's real. Like, here's your season. Let's get ready to get after it.
Well, and it's Cameron Boozer. The spotlight's going to be on him. The spotlight's been on him for most of his young basketball career. And that there's going to be no expectation. There's going to be no shortage of that this year with the expectations on his shoulders. It's going to be fun to watch, man. I think it's going to be really exciting. He's a winner. He's been a proven winner at every level of basketball he's stepped at so far this year, and he's hoping that translates to the college level. It'll be his toughest task yet. But certainly when you're talking about leaders, Cooper Flagg emerged as a leader for the Duke team last year as the best player on the team, even though he was a freshman. Cameron Boozer is going to be the best player on this team as well, and I think you're going to see him step up and emerge as a leader throughout the course of the season.
Kevin, you mentioned this Duke team. Again, basketball right around the corner. Football's got the big game coming up this weekend against NC State. I know that you're over all of it at Ball Durham. You've got the Believe in Duke football podcast. Talk a little bit about both of those things and how people can follow along and support you.
Yeah, over at Ball Durham, you can come read us every single day, balldurham.com. Tons of fresh content up there for you daily. And then 3 times a week on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Come listen to the Believe in Duke football podcast. It's not just about Duke football. It's a ton about Duke basketball as well. Getting that out 3 times a week. So come listen to us over there on Apple and Spotify.
It's good to see you, Kevin. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Thanks, JJ.
All right, that's Kevin Connelly joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, and that's going to bring our show here to a close. Again, a frustrating loss for Duke against Tulane. We've got NC State coming up this weekend to open up ACC play, and Duke basketball practice will be here before we know it. Excited to talk about all that and more with you guys throughout the rest of the week here on Locked On Blue Devils. Follow and subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe there as well. Let us know down in the comments if you were an everydayer. A special shout out to you guys over there. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.